Hi, my name's Xenu, and you're listening to Anti-Moonboy News. We got a big show for you guys today. We're going to be talking all about the Zcash pump, and on a broader note, privacy coins. We're going to be talking all about why I hate the phrase privacy coin and why I think it is Moonboy garbage. So we're going to be getting into a lot of that. We also will be looking at the latest news in digital cash. Roman Storm has filed a motion for acquittal on all accounts, so we're going to take a look at that. We'll also talk about full chain membership proofs reaching testnet finally, and a Chinese woman convicted in the UK after the, quote, world's biggest Bitcoin seizure. So lots to get to. Please like and subscribe if you haven't yet. I'd really appreciate that. But first, we got Super Chats. You can go to xmrchat.com/Xenu if you'd like to participate. And yeah, we got one this week from Shortwave Surfer 2009, who gives 0.01 XMR. Thank you. And they say, I really enjoyed the end music in Anti-Moonboy News 46. I normally skip it, but I found this week's music to be relaxing and calm. Thanks for all the great work. Yeah, thank you, Shortwave. So what I've been doing for the past 5 or so episodes is adding music to the beginning and ending of my podcast. And a lot of people have really enjoyed it, so I will continue to be doing that. And my first featured artist is Flying Lotus. Now, I probably will just be keeping the same theme song for the intro, mostly because it's probably not a good idea to change the intro theme frequently. That would probably confuse a lot of people. However, for the outro music, I will be switching that up. So each episode I am playing a different song. And anyways, the artist I decided to start out with is Flying Lotus, who is one of my favorite musicians. He's somebody I've been listening to now for 15, or more than that, probably 17 years now. Wow. Yeah, he's one of my favorites. Growing up, I listened to him all the time. And, part of why I chose him is because of just how aesthetically cool his music is. And if you weren't aware, Flying Lotus is actually one of the producers of the bumper music used in Adult Swim. So if you kind of maybe notice that connection, he has that kind of vibe of being cool. I don't know how else to describe it. So it's kind of like he was influenced, obviously, by someone like Jay Dilla, where he has this innate understanding of how to make rhythm, which can't be replicated. You just have to know how to do that. And so anyways, all of his music is like this, where it kind of just has this bounce to it, which is, really just fun to listen to. And the fact that he's been able to do this for so long, of so many different kind of experimental styles of music, I find to be just absolutely fascinating. And I would consider him to be one of the most brilliant and forward-thinking artists of this generation, especially when he was in his prime between 2006 and 2014. I mean, he was untouchable, really. And he's still doing really cool things. He's even directing a movie now with Aaron Paul. I just found out about that the other day. How cool is that? So anyways, I've been featuring his music, and to Shortwave's point, the music in the last episode was very calm and very relaxing. It's funny, I hadn't actually heard of that song before because one of the issues that I'm running into with finding music is it has to be music that's not licensed or copyrighted, I should say. So yeah, because of that issue, I have to find either unreleased tracks or tracks that were released on mixtapes, nothing with like on record labels, right? So with Flying Lotus, he's got amazing material on records that I would like to play on the show, but I can't, right? Because it's copyrighted. But yeah, the song last week that I played was called Sleep Sweepers. Never heard of it before, but I kind of found it while I was crate digging, so to speak. And I really liked it, so I'm glad you liked it too. Now, I could probably talk for another hour about Flying Lotus, but I do want to say one other thing. It's that Flying Lotus, he's actually blood related to Alice Coltrane. And now, Alice Coltrane, wife of John Coltrane, jazz legend. Alice Coltrane is actually a legend in her own right. She was a harpist, which is pretty rare. I don't really know of many jazz harpists out there. But she was a harpist, and she was one of the forward thinkers in the psychedelic jazz movement. And I'm going to recommend this to you, Shortwave. Check out the album Journey in Satchinanda. Okay, it's a record from like 1970. It's freaking outstanding. It's like the most relaxing, transcendental record you will listen to. And what's interesting is Flying Lotus, Alice Coltrane is his great aunt, and you can definitely see the influence in his music from Alice Coltrane. In fact, he's actually sampled her on some of his records, in fact. So definitely check that out. But it's always cool to see like how musicians, take that influence and how it kind of comes through in their own music, right? And it was pretty cool to like find a track like Sleep Sweepers, like I found last week, and kind of hear that influence come out again, but in a different way. So check that out when you get the chance. Anyways, that is it for Super Chats. Again, if you'd like to participate, you can go to xmrchat.com/Xenu. You can send me a question, comment on how much you like the show, or music. I don't really care. I'll read it on the air, and we have a good time. So thank you again for that. So channel updates. Big update. I have fixed the RSS feed in the website. So that is all fixed. Sorry for the delay in that. It was maintenance BS. I had to do some things. I'm not going to get into it. But everything is fixed now. The only issue is I don't have all the episodes on my website. I only have the previous 25. Okay. So because of that, if you're looking for an entire archive, you will have to wait a little bit. I'm going to have to upgrade my server to get more room, basically. So in the meantime, you have the past like 20 or so episodes through the RSS feed. But if you want like the permanent archive, you're going to have to go to YouTube, Odyssey, or Rumble and access it that way. I will eventually re-upload everything on my website, but as of now, it's just the last 25 episodes on the RSS feed. Okay. So that's that. The other thing, my AIO cooler that broke on my computer, still broken. I went through a whole thing trying to fix it. It's fucking Chinese manufacturing bullshit. I'm pissed off because I paid like $150 for this thing like 6 months ago, and it already broke, and I don't have a warranty on it. So anyway, I ordered a new cooler, which is a lot cheaper, but it's basically the same thing. So I won't feel as bad if this one breaks, I guess. So I ordered one that should be coming in the mail like today. So I'll fix that. And once I get that fixed, I will be able to make videos again. And I do want to make a video on retoswap, which will be coming once I get my computer set up. I'll be able to actually sit down and do that. The last thing I want to say, I am planning a trip for the beginning of November. I'm going to be talking about this more next week because I don't really have too much time to spare here, but I will be going to Spain. Okay, so if any of my followers lives in Spain or in the area, I guess, I will be there. I will go into more details later, but I will be going to Barcelona and Malaga. Okay, it'll be the early November timeframe. I'll talk about this in more detail, and it's actually related to Flying Lotus. So that's my little teaser. I will talk more about it in the next episode probably. But I will be going there because I will be going to Spain. I will be not making an episode probably for like 2 weeks. I think I'm going to take a little 2-week vacation because I actually have been consistently every week for this entire year for the most part. But I will be taking at least a 1 week off, probably 2 weeks. I will have an update later on for that. So let's move on to the story of the week, which is this insane Zcash pump. I mean, Zcash is like going to, well, what percent increase over the past week? It's like 200%. Like it's retarded to say the least. And there's this narrative that is being talked about, this privacy coin bull run. Ugh. So we're going to talk about that because the phrase privacy coin is cancer. I hate it. And I haven't ranted about it in like 10 episodes, so we're going to rant about it again. I haven't even talked about Zcash lately, too, so we're going to talk about Zcash as well. And things of why Zcash isn't working. Why is it not being used is really what we're going to be talking about. Because I think a lot of people, they view me as someone who is very against Zcash. And it's true, I don't like Zcash a lot. In fact, I don't like it at all, really. But it's not because of the privacy it has. It's because of everything else. And this is part of the reason why I hate the phrase privacy coin. Like, I don't want Zcash to fail. I'm just telling you how I feel about it. And how I feel about it is that it is a corporate coin that wants to work with the state. So really, when it comes to a cryptocurrency project, it comes down to culture. And culture is what inspires the adoption and the progress of that project. And this is where Monero really mogs other projects. It has the rebellious counterculture that cryptocurrency needs. It's got the soul, okay? It is defiant. It is willing to fight against the state. And this is essential for a project to be used in hostile environments. You need that grit factor, okay? You need to be willing to work in the dirty areas. You need to be willing to be controversial. And willing to say that, yes, criminals are using our project. What of it? Because the thing is, from the perspective of the state, people who are using privacy are criminals. That's it. If you seek privacy, they hate you. And there's this mindset that I see from people, and this is very much highlighted in Zcash, but there's other projects like Zcash that want to work with the government because they're saying privacy, no, it's for everyone. No shit. Of course privacy is for everyone. But we have to be working from this perspective that the government hates us. Because if you're working from the perspective of the government wants to work with us, you've already lost. And so with Zcash, they literally have bragged about having meetings with government officials talking about Zcash. Like, this to them is a feather on their cap, that they are lobbying to get cryptocurrency accepted. They send guys to do these backroom deals with exchanges and government regulators, and they're pushing for Zcash to be accepted. And this is not to say that, working to help cryptocurrency be accepted, like, that's not a bad thing. Fighting for governments to accept cryptocurrency, it's not that this is a bad thing, and Zcash can afford to do this. The problem, though, is they are betting on this. They want this. Whereas from the Monero perspective, we're already hunkered down. Okay? We're already fighting back. Because we're looking at the long term. And we're saying, listen, we're going to be here regardless. And if they want to ban us, whatever. We're still going to be used. That's the mindset here. It's like, we're willing to talk about policy, but we're not going anywhere. Okay? It's on our terms. Whereas Zcash is arguing, on their terms. That's the difference. I covered the Tornado Cash case, and we went into a lot of detail of this. And some people argue that it's not worth it to fight it in courts. Absolutely, we have to fight this, okay? We have to play the game. However, we are okay with losing the game in the courts because we're going to keep playing. We have to just adapt. I can openly talk about using privacy tools on YouTube right now. That might not always be the thing. And if my channel were to get shut down, I would adapt. I would change the way I present this information. But we're not going to just go away. We're going to keep giving this information. And, likewise, that cultural mindset, that is what you want in a privacy project, where you're willing to be rebellious. And in fact, you defer to that rebellion, because that is ultimately what is happening here. This is the meta, okay? This is the ongoing battle that's happening. The state hates privacy, and they are doing everything they can to stop it. And so, saying, well, guys, privacy is for everybody. We have to change this framing that only criminals use privacy. Privacy is for everybody. Okay? Well, they think that you are a criminal. What do you think about that, buddy? They think they hate you and they want you dead. What do you think about that? And it's as if the people at Zcash have never thought about this. They're kind of just assuming that these guys are on our team, and they're not. Governments hate digital cash, and that is why digital cash is being attacked across the board in regulations. And it's really the fight that's happening right now. And so when we see this term privacy coin come around, I want to just bash my face into the table, because privacy coin is meaningless. It's not about different projects. It's about the concept of digital cash. That is what's being attacked. The concept of fungible digital cash. It doesn't matter what project you're talking about. That concept is what's being attacked. For example, if you have Bitcoin and you throw it in Whirlpool, or you acquire Bitcoin non-KYC, and then later on you deposit that Bitcoin at a KYC exchange, guess what? They're not going to like that. It's not that they don't like Bitcoin. It's they don't like non-KYC Bitcoin that's Whirlpooled. And they will say, hey, what's going on here? That's what's under attack. Digital cash. Because you can use Bitcoin privately. And in fact, many people do use Bitcoin privately. Still to this day, yes. More people use Bitcoin privately than Zcash privately. And that's a fact. And yet, Bitcoin, it's not considered to be a privacy coin. Why is that? Bitcoin is used in ransomware. It's still used on darknet markets. Go see for yourself. Go on Dread and look for yourself. It's illegal to go on Dread. I'm not going to link it, but it's totally legal. You can see for yourself. Bitcoin is still adopted on markets. Does that mean Bitcoin is a privacy coin? Right? Bitcoin is still accepted in ransomware. Hell, if we're talking about the black markets, right? It's a very broad definition, but we can argue that stable coins are being used more than Monero on these black markets, just because stable coins are very liquid. And in a lot of these third world countries that are using cryptocurrency, they're using stable coins for like money laundering and things of that nature. Does that mean a stable coin is a privacy coin? Because it's being used for use cases that require privacy. It is this phrase, this is what privacy coin actually is, okay? Privacy coin is Moonboy marketing gimmick bullshit. Don't stop saying that phrase. Because what it is it's like a basket of privacy coins, okay? Where there's these different privacy coins that have been selected based on their framing and their marketing. And during different periods, we're seeing a pump in the privacy coin market, guys. I'm going to collect some more privacy coins for my portfolio. That's what you fucking sound like. It's not about using cryptocurrency. Absolutely not about adoption. And it's not about these court cases that are happening. It's no surprise that a lot of these privacy coin people, they never talk about Tornado Cash or Samurai Wallet. I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them. I see them on Twitter. They just use privacy coin as a Moonboy gimmick. And frankly, I think it's disgusting because they're using privacy to market their bags. So with Zcash, back to Zcash here, I do not dislike Zcash because of its privacy features. I think it's great that they have a lot of research happening. Seems like they have some really smart people working for them. That's not why I criticize them. I criticize them because they're not actually being rebellious. It's really what it is it's some smart people making cool technology and this aversion of getting into the dirty areas. And you need to get into those dirty areas like darknet markets. You need to be willing, and honestly, you need to be excited about that. You want to be looking at the darknet markets as the metric. You might be saying, Zeno, why are you glorifying darknet markets? Because it is the largest and oldest peer-to-peer economy that only exists because of peer-to-peer cash. I wrote a manifesto about this, by the way, Darknet Market Maximalism. You should read it. If you haven't read it yet, I highly encourage you. I go into way more detail here, but basically, these markets, if you were to just wish away cryptocurrency, you have like a genie, please get rid of peer-to-peer cash. You would no longer have darknet markets. It's something that we can go and actually investigate. It is a metric. And the difference between a darknet market and something like, coin cards, for example. Coin cards is where you can go and spend cryptocurrency for gift cards, right? The difference between coin cards and a darknet market, coin cards doesn't actually need cryptocurrency to exist. They could sell gift cards for cash. The darknet market, though, they need cryptocurrency to exist. If you don't have cryptocurrency, how are you going to buy drugs on the internet? You can't. So, I'm not saying that I support drug usage. I'm actually sober for what it's worth. I don't do drugs. The thing is, the people, though, who are on these websites, they're normal people. They're everyday people. They're people you see without knowing that they're drug users. It's very common for someone to do drugs that, has like a job and a family. Extremely common. They're regular, everyday people who you see every day. You would have no idea that they are, they have their own issues, right? And they go on these sites and they need cryptocurrency like they need gas for a car. That right there, that's use case. That is a utility, okay? And that is why darknet markets are so important to look at, because you don't have that anywhere else. It's cryptocurrency usage in defiance of regulations. And for any project that wants to be taken seriously, you need to be gunning for those markets. It's not like worshiping, illicit activity. It's acknowledging it and saying, you know what? When push comes to shove, these markets matter. Definitely, like there are sick people out there doing things on the darknet that we do not support, okay? But that's not the point. The point is that from the perspective of the state, we're all criminals. And if you don't have that perspective, you're not thinking in the long term. Frankly, you're not thinking. You're naive is really what I would say. Open a history book. And a harsh reality here is that if you do see darknet adoption, you better believe you're going to be delisted on all these centralized exchanges. Monero, right now, Monero is really only on Kraken in the United States, but it's been delisted pretty much everywhere else. And it probably will eventually be delisted on Kraken as well. I mean, it's already been delisted in Europe, for example, and Canada, right? It's only a matter of time. So for Zcash, even if they get to that point where it has Darknet adoption, and I hope it gets to that point, I would like that to happen. I would like Monero to have competition on there. If Zcash gets to that point, it will be delisted. 100%. And that will affect the price. So, my challenge for the Zcash people is like, do you want that to happen? Because this is the future of Zcash if it is adopted. And this is the part that people are not looking at, okay? When we're talking about the darknet, this is when things get real. Okay? This is when like now you're building clout. You're building aura. Right? And if you start being used on the darknet, you're going to get heat. And the feds are going to be pissed, and you will start to get delisted. And now all of a sudden, all of this like buddy stuff that's going on, it's going to go in the other direction. The reason Zcash right now doesn't have a lot of heat is because it's not being used. But I am positive once you start to see Zcash darknet adoption, Coinbase, yeah, they're going to delist it across the board. It's going to be delisted everywhere. Maybe not everywhere, but it's going to face that, and that will impact the price. And you will see it plummet in value because of that. We saw that with Monero. When Binance delisted Monero, it sank like a rock. Some would argue it still hasn't even recovered. Is Zcash willing to go through that? Because they've already been beaten down pretty harshly by price, and it hasn't even gone through that yet. So I have a tweet here that I made. And this kind of summarizes what I said. But this is about the Zcash culture. It says, regarding darknet adoption, the embarrassment for Zcash is not that it isn't used on the darknet. This could just be an irrational economy. But rather how this community downplays the significance of such adoption, going so far as to say that it is meaningless. Perhaps this mindset is simply a coping mechanism, but this uniform response has reinforced the idea that Zcash is a corporate project that is averse to the largest privacy economy actively using peer-to-peer cryptocurrency in defiance of the state. And that says it all, right? If you are a legitimate cryptocurrency project, you want darknet adoption. Doesn't matter if you're a privacy project or not. You want that adoption because it's actual use case and a hostile environment. They're going to use the best of the best. If your cryptocurrency isn't good enough for that, then what is it good for? It's good for holding it so number go up? Is that what we're doing? Okay, fine. Enjoy it. Enjoy your fucking inorganic pump and dumps. I'm in it for the long haul because I'm viewing this, from my bunker. Okay? I'm looking at this like, listen, we need peer-to-peer cash for the long haul because I don't trust anything right now. Some may call that, paranoid. I just call it realistic. By the way, I made that tweet. I just noticed this about like 10 minutes ago. The tweet was liked by Roman Semenov. Now, I haven't actually talked about Roman Semenov that much just because in this Tornado Cash trial, we've been focusing on Roman Storm because he's, representing himself. But Roman Semenov is also part of this Tornado Cash trial, the two Romans. And Semenov is also, facing time because of this Tornado Cash thing. And so here he is liking my tweet I just made. You want to know why? He's a real one. Okay? He's actually fighting this. He's not some pussy who is like trying to do these backroom deals working with the feds. Fuck that. They don't care about you. And I don't understand why there's this mindset of like working with these people. We have to fight them. Fight them in the courts, absolutely. But like trying to be buddy with them is fucking pathetic. And so with Zcash, there was, let me give you an example. When Binance, back a couple months ago, Binance was considering dropping Zcash. And I swear to God, Zuko put out a tweet thread talking about the 10 things he likes best about Binance. It was the most pathetic groveling I think I've ever seen in my life. Just what are you doing, dude? If Binance is telling you that they're considering delisting you, tell them to fuck off. Show some pride, man. God damn. It's not worth it. And meanwhile, they are actively lobbying with, some higher ups in the Trump administration. And I see this too with, people from like Coin Center, actively trying to look at glass half full stuff, positive stuff with these crypto laws. It's like, what's it going to take for these people to understand that they are working against us when it comes to privacy? The only thing the Trump administration has shown is they are supportive of projects that lobby. Okay. They are also supportive of stablecoins. And they are supportive of tech stocks, essentially. So they support the use case of a tech stock for cryptocurrency, buy and hold. They're fine with that. When it comes to peer-to-peer usage, they hate it. And that is a factor that we have seen from every single administration when it comes to cryptocurrency. They look at cryptocurrency like it is a tech stock. And that's how they want to frame it. And anything else is bad. So yeah, I don't hate Zcash's privacy. I quite like it. I like what they're doing. It's a cultural thing, guys. And frankly, the Zcash culture is very snooty. And they talk down about darknet markets all the time. And it's just like, guys, you're shooting yourselves in the foot. And so you have, on Zcash's side, you have these people who argue for the tech. And for example, one guy, Vlad. Now, I don't really know Vlad. I've gotten into arguments with him. I'm gonna say something nice about Vlad, if you're listening. I respect the fact that this guy puts out a shitload of content. As a content creator myself, I respect the hell out of that. He seems like a smart guy. But here's the blind spot that he has. He argues on the basis that the thing that matters in cryptocurrency is the technology. And that is not true. The culture is what matters. That's what drives adoption. It's not a white paper. It's the culture. Because Joe the plumber, when he is researching how to use the darknet markets, he's not researching white papers. Okay? He just follows the herd. And because Monero has really marketed itself as the rebellious cryptocurrency, it's being used in the largest privacy economy dependent on cryptocurrency. And so anyway, Vlad made a tweet here. He made a couple tweets on this subject. This is basically the Super Bowl for Vlad because he had a big price pump. And by the way, I do want to say this too. I feel kind of happy that people on Zcash got something. They've been being down pretty hard, guys. So like, we'll toss them a bone, right? So if you're a Zcash holder, there you go. Congratulations. This is not like me being upset about that. I think my tweets have shown that I don't care about number go up, right? So, but anyways, with Vlad here, Vlad puts out this tweet, talking about the reasons he prefers Zcash over Monero. Whatever. There's mistakes all over the place. I'm not going to pick this apart. But there was someone who did pick it apart, and that was Fluffy Pony. He responded to him, and the verbal beatdown that Fluffy Pony gave Vlad is insane. I mean, he basically woke up and chose violence. Okay? Because the thing is, the people who are very nerdy about cryptography, they know their shit, okay? And they will tell you that Monero is a very creative project, very strong project, doing a lot of cool things. And they will also tell you that Zcash, same thing. A lot of cool things, doing this, and this, right? But then you have someone like Vlad, again, not criticizing him for trying, okay? Not criticizing him for being interested in the technology, but he is just a podcaster. He's like me. He's not someone who's gone to school for this. And so he makes these sweeping generalizations about Zcash that are very exaggerated because he's trying to argue from the technology point of view. And Fluffy Pony comes in here and he basically makes him, it's a little brother beatdown, essentially. He comes in and pop, completely dismantles what he's been saying and, basically makes Vlad looks like an idiot. And, part of that is, saying that, Zcash is like this main project that is expanding zero knowledge proofs, when the reality is Zcash is just another project that is using zero knowledge proofs. They're doing cool things, but it's exaggerating the technology. And part of the reason why this is being exaggerated is because this is the marketing that Zcash has chosen. Instead of focusing on the culture, on using cryptocurrency in defiance of the state, instead of focusing on that, they're focusing on technology. And arguing that your technology is better than someone else's technology is a pissing contest. It doesn't get you anywhere. I'm sure there are valid, arguments that are made here, but it's not going to do anything. That is the backdrop. It is a technology-based argument in support of it. And that is not good for all the reasons I've already said. Looking at this price bump, is it organic? I probably not. I kind of doubt that. You have a halving coming up next month. There is this Grayscale Trust thing, I think, that was announced. One thing I will say was Zcash. I forgot if I mentioned this on the show. They are integrated in Thor now. That's pretty cool. So I think maybe that has some influence. One thing that maybe is the case is there was a crypto hack the other day. SBI Crypto was hacked, and I think $21 million were stolen. Perhaps it's being laundered with Zcash. But no one's even actually saying that, which is kind of, again, another example of like how Zcash is viewed. People are just assuming that Zcash isn't actually being used, because if people were assuming that, this would probably be one thing people would be pointing to, right? This hack that happened. Maybe they're laundering with Zcash. We saw the same thing with Monero, actually. Earlier this year, there was that hack that happened. It was laundered through Monero. Monero pumped. Perhaps that's the same thing, right? Where now it's Zcash being used. It's not that I want Zcash to be used for illicit purposes. It's just that usage of Zcash would actually make it look better. The reality here is the most likely reason that Zcash is pumping is because this is a pump and dump. You have a lot of people with a lot of heavy bags of Zcash. They stimulate the price. They are on these exchanges. These exchanges can lie. It pumps up the price, and then people start throwing money into Zcash. And the money that's being thrown into Zcash, that's the exit liquidity. It's a pretty old tale in crypto. We'll see if they're able to, keep this price up. But we've seen this before. And Zcash has a tendency to do this because the transactional usage of Zcash has been abhorrent. It just isn't being used. The transactions has it's spiked up recently because now people have a reason to use Zcash, and that's why you have Zcash moving, because the price has gone up so much. So I don't know. If Zcash wants to capitalize on this, though, they really have to start, emphasizing a cultural shift. This is an aside. My cat is next to me right now. He's snoring so fucking loud. I wonder if that's picking up on the mic. Can you hear that? Anyway, one last thing we're going to do here. I have an article pulled up just to really drive home why privacy coin is a fucking terrible phrase. This is from Bitcoin News, or Bitcoin.com News. It says here, Zcash XMR Dash lead privacy coin rally as Bitcoin reaches 120,000. Zcash, with a gain of more than 130% since September 25th, fueled a rally among privacy coins on October 2nd. On the day Bitcoin reached 120,000 for the first time since August 14, privacy coins stole the limelight, with many seeing double digits. Zcash, which reached a 3-year high 24 hours earlier, appeared to lead the charge after it rose by more than 20%. It briefly peaked at $156 before retreating to $132, as shown by CoinGecko privacy market data. As reported by Bitcoin.com News, Zcash's surge has been attributed to a number of factors, including the announcement of the launch of the Grayscale Zcash Trust. Besides being seen as an important endorsement of Zcash, the announcement has been interpreted to signal growing institutional interest in the privacy coin sector. The introduction of cross-chain swap capabilities for Zcash has also been cited as another factor behind the investors' sudden interest in the coin. Yeah, all of a sudden, they're aware of this. The renewed appreciation for the core value proposition of privacy-focused cryptocurrencies has benefited Monero, which topped $340 for the first time since July 2025. Monero's nearly 13% gain since September 25th drove its market cap beyond $6 billion, pushing it to the top 40 ranked digital assets. Dash continued its upward momentum with a 4.6% gain over the 24 hours, lifting its weekly performance to an impressive 61%. Similar surges were seen in Decred and Verge, which posted double-digit daily gains, pushing their weekly returns to 21.9% and 43.8% respectively. Meanwhile, the number 3 ranked coin Beldex. The fuck is Beldex? All right. Meanwhile, the number 3 ranked coin Beldex was one of the few privacy coins with negative weekly gains, although it went up 1.2% in 24 hours. Beldex's price of 8 cents at the time of writing was 9.6% lower than on September 25th. On the other hand, number 6 ranked Xano was down 3.5% after 24 hours, but up by 7.6% against the greenback over a 7-day period. Privacy coin market capitalization jumped more than 21% on September 25th. This surge was nearly 10 times the growth rate of the broader crypto market. Okay. Now, this article is absolute garbage for so many different reasons. I've been rambling a while here, but I think you guys know where I'm going here. The entire market was pumping. So Zcash pumped more than everyone else, but everything's pumping right now. Bitcoin's pumping, Monero's pumping, whatever. One thing I have to say, why is Dash being mentioned here? Dash is just a cryptocurrency project. Here's why. I'll answer this question. Basically, back in 2017, it was, for whatever reason, determined that the only 3 cryptocurrency projects that were privacy coins were Monero, Dash, and Zcash. And also, Verge and Decred happened to be popular at the time as well, so those are included as well. Even though nobody freaking uses Verge, no one uses Decred, no one in privacy uses Dash either. There are people who use Zcash privately. This is absolutely true. The bulk of people only use Monero, though. And this is just, again, based on our observance of darknet markets. It's Monero. Zcash isn't used either, but I'm sure Zcash is used in privacy use cases. No one's freaking using Dash. People are not clamoring to Dash for privacy usage. But again, they have these cryptocurrencies categorized as privacy coins completely randomly, and this is like all part of their narrative. It's Moonboy garbage. It's a crapshoot. Because there's really nothing that Zcash has done recently that's like radically different than it was like 2 months ago. All of a sudden it was chosen. And some people have profited very well. Congratulations to them. But this isn't indicating a renewed interest in privacy like this fucking article is saying. It's just one project happens to be doing well, and Moonboys market things similarly because they want to get rich. So anyway, that is the privacy coin Zcash rant. Let's move on. With that out of the way, before we get to the news though, due to popular demand, we are having yet another mini episode of the anti-Moonboy debate featuring Robot and his girlfriend, the vacuum cleaner. Welcome, guys.
Beep boop. Hello. Beep boop.
The fans of anti-Moonboy news requested this, and I don't blame them, because the spirited debate between Robot and vacuum cleaner has really added to the quality of anti-Moonboy news. You know what's crazy? This is already the 10th official anti-Moonboy debate that we are recording.
Beep boop. Wow, time sure does fly. Beep boop.
Anyways, you guys know the rules. We will have a topic for debate, and Robot and the vacuum cleaner will have a chance to respond and support their position. The topic for today is on Zcash and whether the pump is organic or not. Robot, you will be defending Zcash, saying this is organic, and vacuum cleaner, you will be arguing against it. Are you ready?
Beep boop. I was born ready. Beep boop.
Okay, begin.
Beep boop. The research and development of Zcash has been highly accredited and influential, most notably with an eye towards the long-term proliferation of private digital cash that works hand-in-hand with financial markets. It reminds me of the 27.9 cubic foot 4-door stainless steel GE Profile refrigerator. GE Profile appliances, as you probably know, are designed to make daily life simpler by incorporating smart home technology and cutting-edge features in every appliance. You should consider buying one Xenu. Beep boop.
Okay, and do you have a rebuttal vacuum cleaner? All right, well, that was a very spirited debate. Thank you guys so much. Robot, you started off very strong, but again, you keep trying to get me to buy that refrigerator. Don't know what to tell you. I don't have the money. Maybe if my listeners go to antimoonboy.com/merch to buy some t-shirts or donate at xmrchat.com/Xenu, I would have some money to do that. But as of this point, I don't have enough. Now, vacuum cleaner, I really enjoyed that quote from Carl Sagan, though I will have to dock some points for the otherwise fervent anti-Semitism. However, after tallying everything up, the winner is yet again vacuum cleaner.
Beep boop. What a joke. This is rigged. Beep boop.
Yet again, vacuum cleaner wins. A perfect record of 10-0 in these 10 anti-Moonboy debates. Well, that wraps up this portion of the show. Thank you, Robot. Thank you, vacuum cleaner, as always. But now we got to get to the news. The first one, via the Rage, Roman Storm files motion for acquittal on all accounts. In August, Tornado Cash co-creator Roman Storm was found guilty by a jury in the Southern District of New York of conspiracy to operate an unlicensed money transmitter and is facing up to 5 years in federal prison. Storm was additionally on trial for conspiracy to commit money laundering as well as conspiracy to violate sanctions, in which the jury was unable to come to a verdict. The government has not stated whether it will retry the two charges. And today, Storm has filed a motion for acquittal on all accounts. The defense is arguing that the statutes applied cannot withstand the scrutiny of the First Amendment, as the government would effectively criminalize the publication of decentralized software. Storm was discouraged from presenting a First Amendment defense at trial, as Judge Failla had found that the functional capability of code is not speech within the meaning of the First Amendment pretrial hearings, a finding which, according to the advocacy group Coin Center, was based on outdated case law. The defense is additionally arguing that the government failed to establish venue and provide sufficient evidence for Storm's conviction, as the motion reads, mere foreseeability or even knowledge that criminals are using one's product does not create a conspiracy. The failure to prevent a bad act is not the same as an agreement to assist it. So yeah, the article goes on. There's so I had talked a lot about this in my Tornado Cash wrap up after the decision was made. So you can check out that episode if you want a little more detail. But a lot of this falls on whether or not Tornado Cash was a money transmitter, and there was disagreements on how this was interpreted. So that is a major thing to look at. Another major thing was whether or not Tornado Cash should have implemented KYC, as part of their program. They had a website that people used, and the government was arguing they should have had KYC enforced on there because people went to that website to use Tornado Cash. And furthermore, there's this concept of criminalizing decentralized applications, basically saying that the code should have been written to include KYC and AML. So because it didn't have KYC built into it, it was illegal. And that's really what they're arguing. And lastly, the venue that was chosen. This also made no sense during the trial, but basically they chose New York as the venue. But this was definitely a stretch because they were using communications between Storm and this investor, Tom Schmidt, who was allegedly in New York at the time. And that's what they used to say that the trial should be charged in the Southern District of New York, which is very much on shaky ground. So this is being challenged. We already knew this was going to happen. Whether or not this works, well, that is the next step. And of course, we're also waiting for the government to potentially refile charges. So this is an ongoing story. We will be following this. I'm sure this is not the end that we are hearing about this. Next up, a Chinese woman was convicted after world's biggest Bitcoin seizure. This is via the BBC. A Chinese national has been convicted following an international fraud investigation which resulted in what is believed to be the single largest cryptocurrency seizure in the world. The Metropolitan Police says it recovered 61,000 Bitcoin, worth more than $6.7 billion. Zemin Qian, also known as Yadi Zhang, pled guilty on Monday at Southwark Crown Court of illegally acquiring and possessing the cryptocurrency. A second person appeared in court on Tuesday to admit their role in the scheme. Malaysian national Seng Hock Ling of Matlock, Derbyshire, pled guilty at Southwark Crown Court of entering into a money laundering arrangement on or before 23rd of April 2024. According to the charge, he had been dealing in cryptocurrency on Qian's behalf, knowing or suspecting his actions would facilitate the acquisition or control of criminal property by another. Between 2014 and 2017, Qian led a large-scale scam in China which involved cheating more than 128,000 victims and storing the stolen funds and Bitcoin assets, the Met said in a statement. It said that the 47-year-old's guilty plea followed a 7-year probe into a global money laundering web, which began when it got a tip-off about the transfer of criminal assets. Qian had been evading justice for 5 years up to her arrest, which required a complex investigation involving multiple jurisdictions. She fled China using false documents and entered the UK, where she attempted to launder the stolen money by buying property. By pleading guilty today, Ms. Zhang hopes to bring some comfort to investors who have waited since 2017 for compensation and to reassure them that the significant rise in cryptocurrency values means there are more than sufficient funds available to repay their losses, said Qian's solicitor Roger Sahoda. UK Security Minister Dan Jarvis said, the conviction sent a clear signal that UK wasn't a safe haven for criminals. Money laundering erodes trust, undermines our economy, and fuels the rise of serious organized crime, he said in this statement. So, we have been just talking about privacy cryptocurrency this entire episode. Is this not a privacy cryptocurrency then? Is Bitcoin not being used for criminal use cases? And this is kind of what I've been saying, like, Bitcoin is still used a lot, and it's being used in this circumstance. And we don't know what this scheme entailed of, like in terms of what privacy tools they were using, but I'm sure that they were using something. Maybe they weren't using anything. Maybe they were just taking advantage of jurisdictions being lazy. I'm not really sure. But yeah, this seems like a Bernie Madoff kind of situation. You have someone doing some sort of financial scheme, people throwing money at it, and they lost a lot of money. Crazy stuff. Lots of Bitcoin. That's so much money. It's funny too, because this woman, Zemin Qian, is like this fat 50-something-year-old Asian lady. Like, you would never expect her to be behind this. It's kind of hilarious. You know? It just like, I am positive that if this lady was like attractive, everyone would be simping for her right now. you just know. But they found this like pudgy, Chinese woman, this Chinese national living in the UK. And yeah, laundering a bunch of money. Crazy story. Next up, massive news for Monero. The first testnet for full chain membership proofs and Carrot is live. So big story. Full chain membership proofs, they're pretty much done. We're now just working out the kinks. It's around the corner. So right now with these test nets, what they're doing is they're spamming transactions. They're doing things to find little patches that need to be made so that once everything launches, everything is working for the most part. There will, of course, be fixes that will be needed and all that, but this is the next step before full chain membership proofs does appear for Monero. So if you want to actually play with it right now, you can if you want. So that is going on right now. Big stuff. We've been waiting for this for a while. I haven't talked about Cubic for a while as well. I will be doing a more of a deep dive on that in a future episode. But yeah, the Cubic situation has really quieted down. And yeah, they're kind of just mining Monero at a lower percentage. Their hash rate has gone down as well. That might be over. I don't know. There doesn't really seem to be much going on there. In fact, I'm probably going to be shutting down the defense fund. Kind of just doesn't really serve a purpose anymore. So I'm still thinking about that. I'm probably going to just end up donating the Monero I have left over for different developers and stuff in Monero. But I'll have an update on that in the future. For now, we're kind of just observing the Cubic situation as a much needed stress test for the network that has shown us some vulnerabilities. This is the mindset we should have, right? Last thing I want to talk about is a breach from Discord. They sent out a couple emails. This is one email. It says, "Hello, we're reaching out to you because of a recent security incident on September 20th involving your personal data. Specifically, an unauthorized party gained limited access to third-party customer service system used by Discord. We have confirmed that some of your personal data associated with your contact with our customer support or trust and safety teams was exposed in this incident. This may include your name, Discord username, email, and other contact details if you provided them. Limited payment information, including payment type, last 4 digits of your credit card, and purchase history if associated with your account. IP addresses, messages and attachments sent to our customer support and trust and safety agents. The incident did not include full credit card numbers or CCV codes, your physical address, messages or activity on Discord beyond what you may have discussed with customer support or trust and safety agents, your Discord password or authentication data." So yeah, I mean, Discord, the reason we don't recommend Discord is because it is a centralized application and it is vulnerable to attacks such as this. This is like a perfect example of why we do not recommend using Discord. This is not to say that you can't use it, but you have to be aware that they have your data and they have it stored in different places. And sometimes your data gets exposed. And so in this case, we can just look at this and say, okay, potentially your username is now attached to an IP address, and that information is now available to download. I mean, that's a pretty big leak. And there's other things too. Actually, there's another email I found here, which says that in addition to what I just talked about, the things that were, included, another thing that was included was potentially a government-issued ID if it was provided. So that's another thing. So if you were underage, you would have to then send identification proving you weren't underage to the help desk that was compromised. Well, now that because it's compromised, now that information is available, and now you have identification for people tied to their username. And that username hopefully isn't being used on other websites because now those other websites are doxxed, and now they also have an IP address attached to it, and so on and so forth. It's a mess, and this is really bad. Don't use Discord. It's dangerous. Or if you do use Discord, be aware that these things can get leaked. And the one last thing I'll say about this too is there are many different privacy projects that congregate on Discord, and you should be wary of them. Because if you're a project that is taking itself seriously, you should look at Discord only as a meeting place that's a general meeting place because Discord is popular, not as a official, meeting place for like actually important things. And it's crazy how many projects are like that. It just goes to show you how seriously they take privacy, or that they're aware that they're not actually a threat. Because if they were aware that they were a threat, they wouldn't be using a centralized application like Discord, All right. We're going to wrap things up there. Thank you guys so much for listening. Another great episode of Anti-Moonboy News. Again, give me a like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't. I'd really appreciate that. We just passed 1,000 on YouTube. We're now it's the road to 2,000 now. So join in on the fun, guys. If you want to send a super chat, xsmartchat.com/Xenu. I got merch at antimoonboy.com/merch. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.